Okay, so to start, we're going to base coat our pens. So I have my handy dandy easy handle here, and I'm just clipping on the one clip so I can do these one at a time, or you can clip them to that green cup chuck base you see there, and you can do them all at the same time. I like to just do it one at a time just to show you how the handle works. So I'm just base coating it with one coat of Prime Time. I'm just using my CC DIY brush, and I'm just going to apply kind of a thinner coat of paint. You don't really want it too thick, and this does dry very quickly, so in about 15 minutes you'll be ready for the next step. So you'll see once I'm done with the single pen, I'm just clipping them directly into the base so that they can dry. Once you've let that paint fully dry, now we're just going to add a small amount of epoxy. It's the same method as you would do with a tumbler. You don't want to oversaturate this with epoxy. You only need just a small thin amount, and I'm just going to rub that all over the entire pen, and then we're going to sprinkle our glitter. So again, with our pen attachment, you can either do them one at a time here, like if you were doing multiple glitter colors, or you can, if you were doing all of the same glitter color, you can just put them on the clip chuck base, and then even while they're turning, you can just do this all at the same time. Once you've got them all glittered, you just want to let that cure. So now that that's cured, I'm going to add my layer of epoxy over my pen. So you'll see here, I start with my handle just to show you how it would work if you were doing an individual pen. So I'm just adding my epoxy over the entire pen, and then I'm going to unclip it from the handle and clip it directly into the base. You want to make sure that you don't have a super thick coat of epoxy. It's really not needed. You just want enough to cover all of the glitter. Make sure that you do in fact get the tops of the pen. I know a lot of people forget that because it's a little bit rounded and it's hard to fully cover it. However, with our pen attachment, you don't have to worry about that excess epoxy because it will just pop right off. So do make sure that you fully coat it and that you do get the top as well. Now that my epoxy is cured, we are ready to add our wraps. So the easiest way that I have found to do this is I still clip it into the handle, and then I'm going to take my wraps, just make sure that I trim off the excess. These wraps I got from Bows & Bling 12. I'll have the link listed in the description below. They're super durable to work with. They are a lot more firm than water slide, so if you do mess up, you can kind of lift that off and reapply it as needed. So I just try and line it up as best I can, and what you want to do here is make sure that you go all the way around the pen, pushing out any of those air bubbles, because you don't want any of that air getting trapped, otherwise that will cause creases and wrinkles. Depending on the size of your wraps, I typically like to go around the edge and just trim off just a little bit of that top part so I don't have any of those wrinkles. Now that we have all of those wrapped, I'm just going to go in with my epoxy. I just mixed up 5 milliliters each part A and B epoxy, and I'm applying that to all of the pens. You'll see here I'm not doing it individually one at a time. I'm just using our pen chuck and I'm just applying the epoxy to all of them while it is on the turner. Just make sure that you are fully covering. Again, you do want to make sure that you get the top of the pens, and again, you do not need a thick coat here. That will cause uneven lumps in your pen, so you just want to make sure that you have enough just to smooth and fully cover the pen. Once that's cured, now we're ready for cleanup. So with our pen clips, they are super easy. They have silicone covered, so there's not going to be any problems with the pen sticking to them. So we're just going to simply slide them off, and then if you're messy like me and use a lot of epoxy, then we're just going to trim the edges carefully with an X-Acto knife. You do want to be careful doing this part here, because if you have a lot of excess epoxy, you can, with that X-Acto knife, peel up some of your epoxy. So what I like to do is just take my X-Acto knife and I carefully go around the edge of the pen, and usually that epoxy will just pop off just around the edge. And then I will go back in with the sanding block and just sand that down lightly. You want to make sure that you are getting both the top and the bottoms of the pen clean, because if you have any of that extra epoxy or paint, the clicker will not go back in properly. So I'm just taking my little sanding block and I'm just going around the outer edges on the rim just to make sure that it is fully smooth and ready for the next step. So because I only went around the bottom edge of the pen, another coat of epoxy is not needed because it did not dull my glitter. So once I have that all cleaned up, I'm just using a little straw, a wire straw brush, and I'm just going through the inside just to make sure no extra pieces got stuck. Now you'll just want to reassemble your pen, and always double check the clicker, make sure that it works without any problems. Sometimes it doesn't tell right away if you have still like a piece of epoxy or paint, so just make sure you give it a good couple of clicks to make sure you don't have any problems. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and as always, I can't wait to see what you create.